Good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are, whatever time you're getting this, whether you're taking it live or watching it on the rerun. Welcome to Plain Talk. Today's show, we are joined by guests, professionals in food production to discuss food production as a means to economic diversification. Sounds like a mouthful. It's important to the national development of Trinidad and Tobago. In our mission to inform, educate, and empower, this is another in a series of shows designed to change the national narrative away from bacchanal and noise and focus it on where we should really be trying to go as a country. When we come back, you'll meet the members of the panel today. We need a protocol, We need to establish a protocol as to what to say for a show that could air morning, noon, or night. Anyway, also interim head of Pep Farms. She is a farmer and agricultural practitioner herself, Diane McIver.
Hello, and welcome to Plain Talk.
And Ramdahin Dennis, no stranger to the conversation. He's an international promoter of, among other things, food production as a means to economic diversification. He has been in Washington. I know for a fact, Ramdan.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah? We'll jump right in because the conversation that we need to have as a nation has to take the people to a place where they understand the importance of food to the economy, both as a means to generate jobs, save foreign exchange, create entrepreneurs, and then take us to export to earn some funds. What's your position on this?
Well, let me just start from going back 30 years. This year makes it 30 years. August 7th will make 30 years I've been living in America. One of the reasons I jumped on that migration bandwagon was because there was no jobs in Trinidad for us youths back then in the late 80s. And
you didn't want to be a security guard? You didn't want to work for KFC and pack some fries? Sarcasm aside, continue.
Okay. So I did graduate in agriculture science. We did that intensive agricultural science that was equivalent to A-level agricultural science, but however, it didn't take us too far. So that agriculture training is embedded in me. Okay.
Who was Prime Minister when you migrated?
Ian R. Robertson.
Okay.
NAR. So that that agriculture is inside me. That training is inside me, and I fused that with some university studies in environmental science and management. So I'm an environmentalist. So, and then over the years, when I joined industry, I transitioned into sustainable development. So now I got agriculture, environmentalism and sustainable development as my background profession.
Such good titles, excellent fields of study that nobody in the world cares to discuss. Why you think we so insipid as a species? Somebody posted on Facebook, the most intellectual animal ever to walk planet Earth is the one working hard at destroying it.
It's true. I mean, it's greed. It's capitalism. Everybody wants to squeeze.
I don't like giving things a title like capitalism and then letting it go, because capitalism wasn't set out to be this. And I mean, that's a conversation for another day.
Mm-hmm.
But we still have responsibility for the ship of state, and we have responsibility for the planet. Because if we wake up tomorrow and we can't breathe, game over.
Yeah, but Philip, you gotta understand, we transitioned from a plantation agrarian economy, okay, into this whole drive for industrialization. So there's lesser emphasis on agriculture, okay, and more emphasis on quick returns. So we're mining out the planet, we're digging out, we're chopping down the forests, we're polluting the rivers, we're doing everything we can to destroy the planet so we can put the wealth in the banking system. And this is the trend now, you know. The people who are destroying the planet is the ones with the greatest status, and we look down on farmers now, you know. We don't care about the food producers.
Somebody said to me, if we ever paid attention to the entire hierarchy of professions, we would realize that everybody else is living on the farmer's effort.
Exactly.
Because without food, we're dead.
Everybody has to eat.
Quality food, good food, affordable food. Every day is food. I usually give somebody a simple calculation, right? Put a valuation on your meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, okay? How many days a year do you eat? Unless you're fasting for religious purposes. 365 days. Okay, if you, let's say $40. I'm not sure, 40.
That'll do.
40 US or 40 TT.
Well, there's this thing called below the line, and the line is supposed to be 10 US.
Okay, so put that valuation, okay, times 365 times 1.4 million, okay, and then add how many tourists that you need to feed, how many tourists visit Trinidad and Tobago, how many business people visit Trinidad and Tobago that you need to feed, and you'll get a striking number. If not in the hundreds of billions, I won't be surprised it touches the trillion. It's a big, big industry. People need to eat.
You, every time everybody refers to the population of Trinidad and Tobago, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, nobody in this country, not even the Prime Minister, knows how many people live in Trinidad and Tobago. And we're talking about 1.5 million. China could tell you how many billions live in China. But because I was watching the census study for China, and there's actually an algorithm for the Chinese census. Because by the time the question asked is answered, 8 new people were added to the population. But we, with our raft full of people, not even a ship, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, we're left to do fancy calculations. 975,000 people registered to vote. How could we only have 1.4 million people if 200,000 out of those are in school under the age of 16? How can we plan anything without knowing basic information? I want to bring Tony into this, right? How could you plan feeding a nation if you don't know how many people you're feeding?
No, but you're absolutely correct on that. And like one of our policies which encompasses food independence is the census that we are trying to do presently.
You need critical information.
Exactly. As far as knowing exactly what is the consumption pattern of the population at large on an annual basis.
And being able to influence that consumption.
Correct.
Set targets based on what we can grow.
Yes. And like you said, once we're able to satisfy our local needs as far as on a national level, now we can look towards what would we want to create as a goal for export. Whether we market throughout the Caribbean, South America, North America, or Europe for that matter. Again, like you said, it's a global market.
But they will think that's impossible. Diane is a farmer. Bring Diane into the conversation. Diane, the crops that you grow, are they easy to divest selling them? Where do you sell them to? Are there available markets and ease for you to get a return on your investment?
Actually, I just started into crop production. My history has been livestock, and it was sold very easily on the local market. I was into sheep and duck, and we never have enough of that.
Who do you go to with? General public? Do you sell it as central marketing agency? What?
Butchers actually came to me. Most of
Butchers
my butchers
come to
and
you.
the Muslim community.
Who sets the prices?
I try to set my price because I want to maximize.
So it's cost plus?
Yes.
And then the market reacts?
Yes.
The butchers never come to you and tell you, well, the price of mutton now is X.
They tried. It depends on what situation I was in. If I needed the cash, I would sell, perhaps at a lower return. However, most times I set the price, and I would a lot of the Muslim community require those the sheep, the rams, and so for their when they have to slaughter for their rights, their whatever
Right,
rights
yeah, I
they
understand.
call. Yeah.
So you're saying that demand exceeds supply. So the conversation about pricing right now is moot, because if they don't take it, you could go to the public with it, right? There are
Yes,
means of
yeah.
ways. Do you have access to butchering facilities?
No, I don't. Actually,
Meat storage facilities?
no.
There-
I'm out of that. I'm now into crop
But
production.
if you were in that though, because that is what your experience is in, and I'm asking this question, I'll bring Ramden back into it after, because you can't start a food industry without the people who doing the farming having the support systems. I hear people in farming talk about the most basic things like water and security. That by the time you finish fight up to bring the crop to ready to harvest, somebody passed the night and
yes,
thief
praedial
everything.
larceny was my major problem.
The second largest precepted squad in the country is the praedial larceny squad. Have you ever met one, seen one, spoken to one?
No. I had a lot of theft with ducks, and I reported it to the police. They had a warrant out for the guy. I knew exactly who it was. 10 years have passed and nothing has happened.
Remember there was a time when somebody was stealing a man's avocados and he put a sign that he injected them
With
with
cyanide,
poison.
yeah.
With cyanide. You remember that story?
Yeah.
And they went and arrested the man
Yeah.
Yes.
because it caused everybody else to dump their avocados. The government should have been ashamed. Where was the management to support the farmers that would have prevented him having to reach such an extreme response?
Non-existent.
Philip, let me jump in here for a minute. Praedial larceny is a problem. Okay? I mean, even my brother-in-law, he's growing this, he has a plantation of rangulam, I think it's called, the fruit.
Rambutan.
Rangutan. Yeah. And these things too sell for $30
Yeah.
in all these major supermarkets, and they raided his plantation. He lost about $10,000. Okay, so there are people out there just waiting to harvest when other people put
Yeah,
their
but Ramden, when they steal it, they have to sell it.
Exactly. So this is what I
The
was
people who buying from the thieves
exactly.
and this is where Trinidadians miss the point, you know. That if you buy from thieves who put a farmer out of business today and you save 25 cents today, because you've put a farmer out of business, the price of the food that you're going to buy tomorrow is going to go up because they're going to have to import it. I want to ask a question of the entire panel, and anybody could have any say on this. Are we just too stupid as a people to fix these simple problems? Are we too
Yes.
selfish? Is it that we don't care that the devil could take tomorrow? I don't care if you sink as long as I swim. Is that who we are as a people? Tell me.
But hello, what happened? You know, you have a body like the Agricultural Society. Praedial larceny is something they should be lobbying, pushing policy, okay, holding the police department to quality
We
standards.
just spent $50 million to redevelop the Ministry of Agriculture in Sinclair. For what purpose? What is its job? What is the mission and the vision of the Ministry of Agriculture under any government? Kamla Prasad Bisesa came to office telling the nation that she bundled Baji and Bodhi. How come in the 5 years and 6 months she was in office, instead of selling farmland to strip mall developers, why weren't more effort spent bringing farmers back into the national conversation? Why? I want answers from everybody though. Are we just too stupid? Is it that we are incapable of understanding that we are a collective?
Yeah.
I think so. But what I have a question that I wanted to throw in, especially as we have to people capable and competent in the area, farmers. You hear that we don't have people interested in farming, but is that really the truth? Because I can call people who I know on my Facebook who are constantly talking about farming and agriculture and all of the woes that they face. So is it that we don't have people interested in farming on the lands that we have?
I think we have people interested, but the system is so designed to keep people away
Frustrate.
from it. It frustrates
Yes.
you. Yeah, but
But the consumers think it must come in a white Stereotex tray in high-low.
there are a lot of people on state lands who just don't have land tenure.
Then
You know, it
I
restricts you
want
at
to talk
loads.
about South Park and C3 and all of these malls that being built, all of these cineplexes that being built, all of these gas stations that being built on farmland.
Yeah.
We have no regard for tomorrow. The law of the farm. You can't cram for the law of the
And
farm.
successive governments have never given respect to agriculture. We've actually regressed in agriculture and become more dependent.
People are
when we
going to
became
ask by
dependent.
now into the show, those who want to support the PNM or the UNC and any of the idiocy that has run this country for the past 57 years going to be stupsing and sucking their teeth and saying, well, tell we now what you will do. And Tony mentioned critical information consumption data. Ramdahin started his conversation off by estimation of consumption. Critical information, understanding how many people we feeding, what they eating, where we getting that from. That is important information. If the vast majority of our diet is wheat and the vast majority of our wheat is imported, we have to, as a country, change that. We have to influence the diet through taxation, through legislation, stop subsidization, get into bringing back into the national conversation things like breadfruit and cassava and sweet potato and things that grow here. Identify what the farmers could grow, identify the land stock, bring the land stock back into the conversation, take everything from Caroni and bring it into the national land stock, take everything from Petrotrin, bring it into the national land stock, everything we got from Clico, bring that back into the land stock, and let's decide spatial development. What is agriculture? What is living space? Because those are very important things. Ramden, when we have that information, we could say Trinidad and Tobago wants 500 tons of pimento peppers, 1,000 tons of sweet potato, ducks, sheep, goats, pigs, whatever. And what land space is required to rear and to grow and to reap and to harvest. And when people are in this industry, what is the support systems they need to get to harvest and what they need from harvest to plate. Grass to plate should be the goal of the Ministry of Agriculture, which should really be called the Ministry of Food Production. And the goal, the mission for the Ministry of Food Production should be food independence for this nation.
Grass to gold. I want to circle back the conversation to how I opened up. All right, one of the reasons 650,000 Trinidadians living outside of Trinidad during that massive migration wave of the 80s is because there was no jobs and we didn't value agriculture. Okay, so I watched from the outside how they shut the sugarcane industry down, and how you know if you were to
and replace in our tomato ketchup Trinidad sugar with imported cornstarch, which is terrible, which is one of the things that they say is responsible for the obesity epidemic in the United States and other countries.
And I watched how agriculture investments and industry started to dip over the last 30 years. I mentioned 30 years, right? One generation. I live in outside of Trinidad. And I watched how the importation by a certain community or class started to rise. Committing this country to food importation, no proper investments in agriculture, okay? And food production.
Deliberately.
And this is very dangerous. And
but
we know why.
But Ramdan is deliberately.
We know why
You
it's
just say
deliberate.
that. You're not. This is not the 1% owned media here. This is plain talk plain. So if you know why, you have to say, because there's profit in Price Smart selling kale for $45 a bag that you could buy locally the exact same product for $3.
But I ain't even talking about
$3. No, but
I telling you about political financing that is being channeled
of course
to keep the minister and them
not growing food.
not
They're being paid to not grow food.
Exactly, killing out.
And even those insipid clowns and stunt artists, because their children living abroad already and they making sure they fit it in there so they could fly out. But the average person need to understand, if you don't understand farming and you don't understand agriculture, understand the things that you do understand. And the cost of living in this country is ridiculous. When you go to the grocery, the cost of food in this country is ridiculous. We don't have enough markets. We don't treat the markets with respect. When we say this is a market, Chaguanas market or Central market, you come into the place and it's filthy. When you go to international markets, you want to spend the day there. You want to walk around, because you could actually, in Greece, you could buy the fish in the fish market and walk into the next aisle and find somebody who will cook the fish for you right there in the market. And it's people in countries, I tell people, if ever I migrate from Trinidad and Tobago and you want to find me, come to the Barcelona market. Someday I'll be walking through there in the week. Because these people, and when they talk to you and they tell you that this stall in this market has been in my family for 400 years, that it is more important to us that we keep our good name and our reputation than benefit from an extra dollar from you, then you understand why quality guides everything that they do.
Now, Philip, I told you, go pull out your calculator and do the mathematics. See how much billions of dollars in this industry is involved, right? So when I control the food importation, I already calculate the profit. One man told me I imported for $1 and I mark it up 400% by the time it hit the grocery shelves. Okay? All that delta.
They have too much hands touching it too. The gouging don't just rest with one. The importer is only one person. There's the importer, there is the wholesaler, there is the distributor, and then there's the retailer. When all we need now come back to the markets. Markets are important. The Progressive Empowerment Party talks about establishing 41 constituency markets. Do you know the term marketing came from the fact that in the olden days, the community was built around the market? And that there were people who created an entire field of study about going from farm to farm, selling what was available in the market, and giving them reasons to purchase it without ever having to leave the comfort of their own home. That was the start of marketing. And I mean, it's important to note the importance of the farmer and the farm, and making it so that people like Diane, is a lot of effort growing food. They need to be treated with respect. This girl, we have a member, actually I don't want to put her on the spot, but she grows kale. And anybody who is willing to get involved in agriculture, she shows you how to grow kale for little money. And by the third month, it's just self-generating. And you could sell for $3. What PriceSmart is selling for $45. Does the average person not understand the value of the money in their pocket? There is no way that a mango should be more than $1 in Trinidad and Tobago. No way. A mango crop don't require watering, weeding, fertilizing. Mango grow and bear for as long as the tree want to live. 30, 40, 50 years. We have crops. You talk, Felicia, about guava tree in her yard. And she's talk about guava. Once they start to bear, it's a walk. Once guava start to bear, you don't mind if the piper comes, say, come take all. Because there are crops that are hardy crops that you don't even have to, you set it and forget it. Come back after and reap it. Mango, breadfruit, guava, soursop, avocado. These are massive foreign exchange earners.
As you speak about those fruits, one thing is a pet peeve of mine. I also did food processing and food technology as a master's. And we have so much wastage of fruit, mangoes every year. We need to be processing that. We could make mango liquors. We need to put in little bottles for the tourists when they come. They buy mango and
why
go
are
for
getting
liquors.
mangoes in massy stores that looking like, when the mango bare, you wait for it to get full and then you wait for it to ripe. We're skipping a step. We going from bare to ripe. I am yet to see. I grew up with a mango tree in my yard in Woodbrook, and a full Julie mango could almost take 2 hands to hold.
Yeah.
What you getting in Massy stores now, the mango is full out yet and it force ripe.
But I was so processed mango, red mango, and all of
Yeah.
those things are big in these states. Every time I have to travel, people always asking me to bring, and I was so
Yes.
heartbroken when I found out that we actually import those mangoes from up the islands to make
Yeah.
red
There's a
mango and
lot
stuff. And we
of
have so much
wastage
that
of
waste in here in the
fruits in
country.
Trinidad. We need to utilize it.
Yeah. Well,
We
Philip,
should not be
But
importing
look at a proper farm.
concentrate.
Let me just put this out there. A proper farm would be long term, medium term, short term. It could be self-sustaining. You have your mangoes and your avocados and your breadfruit growing, but you're also growing some short-term crops like tomatoes and pimentos and chive, and you're rearing your ducks and your turkeys. Turkey is a massive industry.
Yes.
The amount of protein that turkey delivers, bang for buck for rearing, it exceeds chicken 10 to 1. We have a perfect ecology here for turkey rearing, but people are afraid to
Praedial
get
larceny,
into
praedial
praedial
larceny.
larceny eating you up.
Yeah.
So Philip, if you allow me to interject here, so everything you're talking here is problems, all right, based on observation and actualities, and you are actually hitting on something that this country is lacking, which is called an agriculture master plan,
Yeah.
a vision and a blueprint on how to correct everything
Absolutely.
you're
And it
addressing.
must be integrated with
But
government.
but Ramnahan, before we get there, we need the information. And if you don't know how many people live in Trinidad and Tobago, how you can plan for that? If
So
you
I
don't know how much land stock exists for farms, I mean, what Greenvale was built on should be planting rice.
Perfect for rice.
How did they get to take that land from Caroni Limited and turn it into a housing development that's just going to flood every time the rain exceeds the cycle?
So I know we only have 1 hour and we're talking too much problems. So since I'm only on a short visit to Trinidad, I thought I would just share some solutions with you. All right? So we start educating the viewers out there on what's the possibilities. So I'll give you a project we were asked to do for Guyana. Okay? We were asked by Guyanese government to help diversify the Guyanese economy to create 50,000 jobs. How do you start doing that using agriculture? So they called us in because we have a team of global experts in the area of cannabis. So our objective was to put down 100,000 hectares of industrial hemp plantation on the former sugarcane lands. Okay, this was a project we're putting together for Guyana until President Granger stopped it, because he was less educated on what cannabis is, and he thought we were going to grow weed. But anyway, so I brought in the expert, the agronomist. Our agronomist puts down huge plantations of industrial hemp for the king of Cambodia. Okay, I'm bringing the technologist who has the patent on how to process the thing. Okay, so we're talking here on a 100,000 hectare farming, okay, sexy farming, cannabis, which is $1 billion industry, you guys know. We're talking about food for man and animals. We're talking about fuel, okay? We're talking about pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals, and we're talking about fiber. Because if you decomplex yourself, the clothes you're wearing,
No, I know.
made from fibers.
The hemp is fully is root to tip.
So when you think about
That is sustainable farming.
when you think about creating 50,000 jobs for these needy citizens of Trinidad and Tobago who want sustainable employment, look at how much lands we have from Grand Bazaar.
But
all the
then
way
I
up-
also want to jump into this because Trinidadians don't like to get their hands dirty too much. And I want to tell you that besides that style of farming still requiring 100,000 hectares, we could be growing vertical farms,
Yes.
warehouse farming like they're doing in Europe. So there are all of those options.
well,
and you could throw that out there for people to know and to hear that entrepreneurial farming modern technology right now has taken food production to a whole different level.
So I was going back to the idle lands. That is a discount to this country's national GDP. Land sitting for 15 plus years, just growing razor grass and bamboo grass, and not even a cattle or a goat on it, right? And the government holding it for what reason? To build houses for vote. This style of governance is very, very dangerous. So we're talking about agroforestry. We're talking about mangrove restoration. Okay, we're using our mangroves as dumps. We're killing our mangroves to build shopping malls, as you say. You know, we're talking about water sustainability because farmers fighting for water. I saw recently they put a little pump to pump drain water to irrigate their crops. What madness is this country? You know.
But you have to remember, and you speak to the audience and know that Trinidadians lose interest when things sound complicated, or if you go too far off the reservation, because we literally have turned this nation into a lazy bunch of consumers. We want everything pre-organized. Even our opinions seem predetermined. So when you coming back to them, you have to hit them somewhere where it resonates with them. Where it resonates with them has to be, how do we make this benefit you? How do we make you money? How do we save you money? And the first step to the average Trinidadian is to understand that until you vote a government into office that takes farming and food production seriously, the cost of living will always be outside of the average person's salary. We are living in a nation, and again I bring it back to Dan. She's talking about processing mango. What about pomsite and pawpaw? Those things they flavor and create anything. They use it as a substrate. You could be eating what you think is strawberries, and you're just eating strawberry flavored pawpaw, and they're using the pawpaw pulp for texture and what they call in the industry mouthfeel. But pawpaw and pomsite provides excellent substrate for them for development. Pomsite is a next hardy crop. I know somebody who grows pomsite, and the entire crop is sold before it starts to bear. That the people who buy, and it's not local,
exactly,
the people who buy it from him, they just come and they estimate what his yield will be, and they make him an offer, $150,000 for this season's crop. And yeah, okay, fine, and you come and pick it out.
Okay, I hear what you're saying.
So let's get to where people understand how this reached them.
But instead of building box drains with billions of dollars, okay, and creating temporary unsustainable jobs, you should have pumped that billions of dollars into exactly what you're saying, agroforestry.
How could you do that when there are companies giving you as prime minister, when you were political leader of your party, millions of dollars to not grow food? You cannot escape the fact that what we are saying here this morning, see, Trinidad and Tobago was a net food exporter up to the 70s. So we can't pretend that we alone have this information. Kamla and Keith, Pandey and Manning had it.
Mm-hmm.
They have it now. I tell people all the time that the information to secure the nation's borders sitting on the desk in the Ministry of National Security. The information to make Trinidad food self-sufficient sitting down on a desk somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
The reason it is not being done starts and ends with the vote. The vote that votes parties into office that do not take farming and food production seriously.
We need, and you raise a good point too. We cannot be pushing a consumer economy without thinking about converting to a producer economy. How much you're going to consume? If you're not a producer economy, you ain't creating no jobs, no sustainable jobs. You ain't creating no wealth. How is that money circulating in the economy? Okay, so only so much shopping malls.
Government has the ability to lead the conversation through legislation, taxation, and even what they subsidize. They could create food processing downstream facilities. So people like Diane, you could find out, the government could invite you to a symposium and say, okay, you're growing pumpkin and pawpaw now, but there's an international market for derivatives of squash, and we want to give you the support to grow squash. We want to give you the full kit. The full kit to turn your land into squash. And we want to pair you with people in agriculture, in animal husbandry, so that they could provide, because they have to dispose of their manure. I was looking at the dairy industry. They did a whole program on that. And one of their biggest problems is the amount of manure cattle produce, dairy cattle produce. And in some countries, they're exporting manure. Having a vision and a plan for the country and coming up with what we say is, let's say, if you hit even 50%, if you hit 50% of the consumption pattern of the country, of what we normally eat, like if you go to the market to shop and you want to buy certain foreign fruits, but you see the whole smorgasbord of local fruits that you could get and it's a lot cheaper, why would you still be buying apple and pear when you could eat five finger and mango growing here? While, I mean, one of the best fruits you could digest is pawpaw. The fibers are very, very good. The lycopene is very good. The Ministry of Health should be involved. It is so encompassing that jobs, saving foreign exchange. This touches every single ministry. It fixes the country. Food production. There are people in Trinidad and Tobago who are billionaires today importing food that we should not be eating.
Very true. Very true. And I actually want to come back to the question you had asked earlier on in the show, as to, is our population stupid? Was that what is that what it was?
Low information.
Low information.
You just have that perception that whatever is imported and foreign is better.
Well, not only that, I think that
just need to change that.
the propaganda machinery that's on the ground in Trinidad, especially what's supporting the political framework and system that we are practicing, which dovetails within the corporate sector as well, because it's that area.
So is you can't make it sound like it's separate. The political parties are puppets of the 1%. The political parties are directed by the 1%, what they want to profit on. The 1%, the Chamber of Commerce, the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association, those are profiteering groups. They're set up for one purpose and one purpose only: how to make more money. And when they realize that they could control the actions of the cabinet through controlling those two political parties, the average citizen lost.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely correct. Yeah, right.
Don't try to make it sound like it is different organization. It is fist and hand. It is everybody
it's
together.
It's not
Fireman and arsonist in the same.
Well, you're
in the
right.
same house.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. But again, it boils down to the propaganda machinery that the population is being exposed to. Because again, before the Progressive Empowerment Party putting all the critical information for the people to understand what their right is, what is due to them, what the system actually supposed to be offering to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Again, before a Progressive Empowerment Party existed, no one on the ground knew this. So my
Are you trying to tell me
is,
that people really don't know that a mango shouldn't be $5?
again, Philip, how many times mango had left from 50 cents to $1, $1.50, $2, $3, $4,
Anybody
$5.
who have a mango tree in the yard will tell you. The first bearing of the season, you eat till you're sick. The second bearing, you share with friends and family. The third bearing, you're putting mango on the wall. The fourth bearing, you're asking people, boy, come and take mango by we now.
That is in our time.
No, but I'm saying to you, they tell Trinidadians grow frangipani and hibiscus and pave your yard, instead of saying the average 400 square foot land space available to a house could grow enough fruits and vegetables to feed the family living there and provide for others.
True.
Yeah.
When I was living in Woodbrook, 35 O'Connor Street, there's actually an organic grocery there now. But we used to live there and we had a lime tree, a fig tree, not banana, the purple fig. It used to be, we had a fig tree, we had grapevine, we had mango, avocado, and breadfruit. And at any point in time during the year, we eating from our little yard.
Right.
So Philip, let's break it down back to basics now. What about food abundancy in communities like the depressed communities like Beetham, Laventille, etc.? Why aren't we putting down thousands of trees to give these communities abundance of food, and even set up the processing plants to create jobs around these communities, you know?
Let me take you another step further, because I've been saying this for about 20 years. There's enough land space in Trinidad and Tobago that you could seed from the air. that you could plant only fruits and vegetables. You know, there's not one fruit tree in the Queen's Park Savannah. Not one. Because the Ministry of Agriculture do not want the responsibility of managing the fruits that fall from the tree, or they don't want to attract homeless people to the savannah to take the fruits when they bear. Now I'll tell you something, we have enough land space in this country. Not even talking about farmland, you know. I'm talking about land space that you could. There are countries in the world when strawberries come into season, they tell you bring your bucket and come. Just bring your bucket and come. Because it's important to the government, to the nation. We don't have to be spending $4.5 and $5 billion on public health if you have healthy people. If people are not eating the amount of nonsense that we buy in massy stores and True Value, it is so disproportionate and wrong side. 5% of the grocery is real food. And the rest is just processed corn, processed wheat, processed dairy in different forms. Just substrates and flavors. I bought a puppy for my daughter. And pouring the dog food from the bag into the bowl. She grabbed one and eat it. She enjoyed it. She went for more. I said, no, one is enough for you to know what it is. But the average person don't understand that the same meal that extrudes the dog chow is what extrudes corn curls and cheesies. It's basically the same raw materials. And what you flavor it, what you drip on it after and tumble it in the last thing before you send it out. So this same thing that could be tumbled with honey is now sweet. That could be tumbled with meat is now dog food. Tumbled with cheese and salt is cheese balls. But it's pretty much the same thing. And the reason I'm saying that is that we have so many ways in this country that we should be feeding our people. What we're doing now, and I'm not saying feed them dog food, but I'm saying that it's possible that you could process and make available to Trinidad and Tobago everything that we need.
Well, I'm going to throw in a few more things here. Beer is a food, unfortunately, right? And, you know, beer manufacturers, they import a lot of the raw materials to make the beer.
Can we grow hops here?
Not only hops. Look what Heineken did in Jamaica. Heineken transitioned to using cassava as their base product for beer manufacturing.
Where Blue Waters operates now in Trinidad and Tobago, actually the company Pernod Ricard came here when Basilio Pandey was Prime Minister, and they gave them that piece of Caroni land where Blue Waters is now to grow star anise. Because they have one of the largest selling liqueurs in the world, something called Pernod. And French people, it has this aphrodisiac thing. You know, every country, every culture have their version of Hennessy and Saplegin. So there's this Pernod, and it's made from star anise, and they can't get enough. And it was supposed to grow here because of our soil content and the type of soil that we have. I don't know what happened to that, and all of a sudden it become, and it had a well on the land. You know, the well on the land is what we bottling now as Blue Waters. But why?
So cassava flour also
breadfruit flour
is a big thing on the market now.
Breadfruit flour. Haiti, there is a big push, and I have been saying for years, but Lincoln Myers, God rest his soul, was a big push under the NAR government.
We didn't see his vision. We didn't
see his vision, but he brought dwarf breadfruit trees to Trinidad under the same NAR government. He brought dwarf breadfruit to Trinidad and Tobago. And a breadfruit tree, if you ever saw a breadfruit tree, you know that once that catch it gone, you had a fight to stop it bearing breadfruit.
So, Philip, some of the things we do internationally that I really want to extend to Trinidad and Tobago, which nobody cares about, are things like landscape rejuvenation, increasing the health of the soil and rehydrating the landscape so you don't have to fight for water.
Organic farming.
When dry season comes. Natural farming, if you want to say organic farming.
What's the difference?
Natural farming is going back to the old traditional way of farming.
What's the difference between natural and organic? I thought organic was that.
No, there's some type of difference, but I don't want to get into that debate right now. But, you know, the natural farming, what it does is it takes the Indian cow as a certain, the manure. They take the manure, the urine, and they put a sugar base in it, and they let it ferment. And then they mix it with water, and they spray it on the soil. and then it causes the earthworms to come up,
Self-sustaining
right?
farm.
And
Yeah.
the earthworm moves the micronutrients further to the top, and this is what
Creates a sustainable
yeah. So when you
farm.
see like a banana plantation, the banana plantation about 12 foot high. So the person on our team is Sri Subhash Palika. We've been trying to get the farmers from Trinidad and Tobago to go to India to spend 6 weeks to learn this technique, bring it back to Trinidad. We can't get no support from the ministry.
There's 7,000 farmers on a list trying to get land. The Progressive Empowerment Party says make land available to them at no charge. You're not giving it away, you're not leasing it. You're saying we will identify all of the food stock, land stock for food, and say this 5 acres here, we want pimentos here. You want to grow pimentos, we'll give you the course and show you how to grow pimentos. We'll give you the seeds. We'll tell you that the value of what and the yield you're supposed to get from this piece of land is X amount of pounds or tons, and that we will purchase that from you at the end through a marketing system that makes it available to the public to keep the price low. That
Yeah, data is king.
important.
If
Data is
you know where you
you
need
can't
to
be
grow.
growing something that the people not eating. You have to grow what the people want.
One of the things I attack this agricultural society for is their mindset is only pepper and tomatoes. Get out of that framework. There's a lot more things we need to be thinking
If
about.
we were processing breadfruit to make breadfruit flour in Trinidad, cassava flour, I go to a bakery and the white bread that they make is cassava flour bread and it is fantastic. There's a guy called Zaboka Breads that sells on the corner Tragrit Road by Maraval Road there. And if you go in there, it's a little pricey because I guess the raw material that he needs is expensive. But it's so much healthier than processed bleached flour that they've removed everything that matters from the wheat. Is only the kernel, I think, that they're grinding up and selling us as flour. The bran is gone, and the important nutrients in, we get nothing from white flour.
It's
I
not
just-
healthy.
it-
White
but
flour
we
is
get-
not healthy.
But we get nothing from it. We get nothing from it, and they tell you that vitamin C added, but science is now proven that a lot of the added vitamins to food passes through your system without being absorbed. The processing of food in your system requires an extraction, and if it is added, it's not extracted, it flows. So that being able to stamp a great source of vitamin D to your waist, not to your body, because it's not happening to you. When you start taking vitamins, the color of your urine changes bright yellow because you're literally passing out a lot of that. We need to get back to a place where we could offer services to farmers. Breadfruit farming, I mean breadfruit, one breadfruit feeding the family, one breadfruit. And I don't understand, breadfruit reach $30 and $40 in this country.
Now, there are a few people doing the flowers that you speak of, but it's for just niche market. We need to be producing a lot more of the raw material so that it could be widespread and replace wheat. Why aren't we doing that?
But Diane, that's what I'm saying, master plan. But the
Master
politicians
plan.
are the ones stifling this vision.
Stop talking
And another
about
thing
politics,
too, we
government,
need
and you need a
we have
government
a
that
lot
has
of
a vision
people
for the
wanting
people.
to plant, and the available state land is there for the land grabbers. There are people
And a
grabbing.
Progressive Empowerment Party government promises to reclaim all the fertile farmland and to remove whatever structures are on it that contradicts a food policy, because we need to be able to make our country food independent. A lot of Trinidadians don't understand that with the kind of people that in power globally, Putin, Trump, I mean, the wrong move in Venezuela and the world at war. The wrong move in Venezuela between China, Russia, and America, and the world goes back to war. And even if our food suppliers that Hadco and Amco and Massey buying from now, even if they want to send it, they may not be able to have ships available to send it, just interrupting the transport of the food. And Trinidadians starving and the price of food go through the roof, and poor people have to suffer.
Well, that's a great point you made. When World War II happened in 1940s, we had a food shortage here in Trinidad. The food went to the military. All major food went to the military. You had to feed the soldiers.
Toast was invented.
And our local people were eating local food.
Yeah.
bhaji and whatever yam. They had
And you know what I like?
Rabbit was the source of protein during the war days. Most people who ate any meat at all, it was rabbit day.
No, but what I like, and I actually love the resurgence in this food by the pound thing that is bringing back a lot of the Creole food and the cultural food that was Trinidad and Tobago, because we were heading down a bad road with this fried chicken and burgers. I mean, it's still they outnumber all the other restaurants, and I don't understand why. I don't understand why would somebody.
It's $1 million enterprise. Each one of these outlets, multi-million-dollar enterprise.
But this is not food they're selling. You know what they sell is
toxins.
yeah, actually, but no.
But they only care about the profits.
You get a spike in your blood sugar, and a lot of the ingredients like KFC. One of the secret ingredients is MSG, and MSG is an excitotoxin, which is you don't really taste the food, but you experience in the pleasure center of your brain, like cocaine, like what cocaine does. And MSG as an excitotoxin is bad for human beings. We have in Trinidad and Tobago the highest counts of heart disease and diabetes among African males in the Western world.
We have all the wrong jobs.
Keith Rowley says Afro Trinidad is not doing well. We're feeding them nonsense.
Feeding
That
their minds and their
KFC,
body
that
nonsense.
KFC diet killing them young. So besides the guns and the violence and jailing and killing, the the black community, the father missing from the family and not being able to raise the children because of so many things, and diet is one of them. We have to get back to a proper nutritious diet. A Trini oil down. When you eat that, you store in your organs all of the necessary nutrients you need for rebuilding and regenerating for hard work. And we could accomplish more. Instead of that, we're giving them a nutrient void diet and killing them with alcohol and cigarettes. I went for a blood test the other day, and the doctor was just able to just read out all of the markers that they check on our executive screen. And she said that your liver and the blood test shows you don't drink alcohol at all. I say, yeah, I drink a beer now and then. But none of the markers, and people don't understand that alcohol is a poison, tobacco is a poison, that when you put it into your system, your body goes into retrieval and recovery mode and takes a lot of the resources and damages your body and ages you, and all of these things. There's nobody in Trinidad and Tobago, nowhere in government, nobody sitting down and saying and addressing the people or even trying to lead from in front. If you could make the average person understand how wealthy they could become farming, if you could put things in place.
So what do you think is the mandate of the current Minister of Agriculture? He's gonna, if he may leave office soon, depending on who wins the next general election. But what can we report he has accomplished for this country in the last 4 years?
Then Clarence Rambarat is such an intelligent guy, and it is a disservice to this country that Clarence Rambarat became the Minister of Agriculture under PNM government, because as vexed as I am with this government, there are a couple people in that party that I know their abilities and their capabilities, and Clarence is a man that in a proper government could have made a difference. He has the knowledge and the passion. I mean, this was a man at one time was a columnist, a lawyer. He was involved in food production and Caroni Limited for a while. He knows his stuff. He knows his stuff, and we ended up with I had a poem on the spot that there was this green farm that they had growing peppers. What was the name of that farm? Something
The
green.
Green Initiative, yeah, the
Reconnecting
Green.
Initiative.
That was
yeah.
under the UNC.
Yeah, but within 6 months,
The one he praised and then
he
closed
praised it.
down.
And then
it was he said, this is a model,
Yeah, I remember that.
and then 6 months later, shut it
Closed
down.
it down.
Caroni Green or something
Caroni
like that.
Green
Caroni Green, yeah.
The Buffalo. What happened to the last parts of the herd? Rowley said that they can't take care of it. I said, give me all. I'll buy land. Buffalo was a successful experiment. What happened to that? What happened to that? The average voter in Trinidad and Tobago does not care enough about his country. That's the profile. Does not care about himself, does not care about his community enough to see past the nonsense and the maladministration that we've had as government. They've been positioned in combat mode, PNM-UNC, Indian African. So they don't think details. They just think who less worse.
I have a question though. What is the role of the FAO, the Food and Agricultural Organization, as it pertains to our food production? Because I know it's a organization, it's a part of the UN that has been here for well over 30-something years, but what are they actually involved in doing as it pertains to agriculture?
Trinidad and Tobago is a signatory to United Nations Development Rights of a Child. This is a nation of Akil Chambers, Daniel Guerra, Sean Luke, Tessia Henry. These are the top 10. This is not all of the children that get dismembered, buggered, raped,
Trafficked,
murdered, torn apart. I mean, the stories are horrendous. Where's the United Nations?
Let me tell you
Where's
something
UNICEF?
about the United Nations.
Where's UNICEF? We had to march. In another organization that I was a part of, the Jericho Project, we put 25,000 people on the road to demand that the Children's Authority be set up and funded. Now 1%er owns the building and getting $75,000 or $100,000 a month rent, but I hear nothing from the Children's Authority, and children still getting decimated. You know?
I was just going to say that's a great question concerning the FVO, and don't expect anything, because you see what we're dealing with on the ground here. FAO ain't going to help nothing. They only produce nice reports and send it up to New York.
And perhaps some
Geneva.
funding that never gets to the people who need to actually
I was
get
going to
it.
get past one video without saying it's all bullshit. It's like Exim Bank. Exim Bank is getting $100 million for what? For what are we giving the Exim Bank $100 million for? Their job is to export, to facilitate export. For who? For who? What's that $100 million going to do? The same 1%ers, the same friends and financiers of the government, they're going to come and bite off a piece of that. And you will give it some title as to the reason why they got it, the Green Fund. The Green Fund that you're taking out of people's taxes, where does that money go? We have plastic initiatives in this country that is bullshit. All of those plastic keep and all of that nonsense. They collect the plastics. The cost to the environment to clear those bins and take them to central warehousing and then ship them to China gives us a far more massive carbon footprint than if you was just burning them in Trinidad and Tobago. And we don't understand. They are very good at bullshitting us. They're very good at selling us nonsense. And as long as they have a title, because the Exim Bank get funded around the savannah for about 20 years and did nothing for nobody. Nothing for nobody. So when you bring up organizations, I look at the FIU and the Range Rover that Dole bought from Sabga. And if the FIU didn't say, hey, you know, because there's one commissioner of police we have that is able to say, yeah, he fishing for goldfish, that's why he have all that gold. And while we're laughing at that, they have small cloth store owners or little parlor owners that children, 1%ers, middle class, all of a sudden, everybody in the family driving Benz and BMW. Where's the FIU? But if I go to the bank to open my bank account today, they had to climb up inside of me. Where you get this money? A government minister show up with $143,000 in a brown bag. Where was the FIU? All of these associations and organizations have been set up to facilitate more bullshit. I have never seen a country, and every single day, I mean, Wayne Sturge is my choice, my pick for Attorney General. Wayne Sturge tell me, Philip, I'm fed up with this country. I go in. I have never seen a country work so hard to destroy itself as Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago is trying to destroy itself. When white people, Syrian people, Chinese people, and Indian people laugh at the people fighting when Dole and Sharon dead and want to go to their funeral and wail, but they don't see that they're doing the same thing for high-end gangsters and drug importers that can't explain their wealth either, that living high on a hog that nobody ever see the hog. The truth of the matter is our country is broken from top down, pillar to post. And all of this we're talking about, everything could fix. We just in the show, we try to break it down. And this is why, I mean, I know I could give you 10 hours on camera and you could give people details down to DNA. But I needed to tell you early o'clock that you'll tune them out. You'll tune them out. My brother calls Trinbagonians low information voters. And that's a sad indictment. Because we have the power to change the conversation. The day we break this Indian African bullshit, the PNM and the UNC will collapse. And when the PNM and the UNC collapses, all that will be there, standing the bright light of day, is the contract mafia that owned and operated them, looted and plundered this nation, and kept all the people poor, hungry, living in squalor. Not even the middle class in Trinidad and Tobago is safe. Nobody goes to the grocery anymore and just pick thing up and put it in the trolley. Because you don't know the price and you don't know what happened at the end. Everything ties back together that Trinidad and Tobago is deliberately mismanaged, and it is the voter to blame. Because if the voters continue to think that they could argue in defense of high-class criminals and put them back in office again
That's
and
what they're
again
doing. Yeah.
without seeing that they're cutting their own throats.
They ain't seeing it. They're not seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, you hit the head on the nail. Well, the nail on the head. Did I do that backwards?
Yes, you did.
No, but very informative. And again, a lot of the things that you spoke about is things that we've, again.
We have no shortage of experts,
Yeah.
I could just pick up the phone and call them. They'll fly down here to Trinidad and we'll put the plan together.
That's the point. We tell them success leaves clues.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is
If
it?
you want to bring a professional from Finland, Trinidad is a dot. If you want to bring a professional from Finland and say we have 200,000 children in our school system, fix it. Bring somebody from Singapore, say your port earns you $100 billion a year, our port costs us $1 billion a year. Please, fix it. Fix it. It's worth your while to bring the head of John Hopkins and tell him, I will pay you $1 million a month. Fix my public health. Because we're spending $4,000 million a year, $5,000 million a year, and nobody gets anything from it. We get excuses, we get bacchanal. They pretend that because some grannies abandon their children for carnival, that is where the money going. It's not. It's not. And if you read the Auditor General report, the Auditor General report shows you that there are ways that you could follow the money. But it's a country where the Auditor General's report is always 4 years late. So even if you identify the culprits, it's too late to prosecute them. We have a bullshitocracy. Trinidad is set up to fail. And if we don't vote out the fronts of the contract mafia, is it possible? We have to come back to this because we're talking food production, Tony. We're talking reducing the cost of living and saving foreign exchange and protecting the country and making it really independent and creating jobs and entrepreneurs and everything. But if the people of Trinidad and Tobago don't even care to invest themselves in the conversation or the knowledge, are we wasting? And it is destined to slam into that iceberg no matter what we do.
We're heading down there.
Information, Philip, information. We keep saying it is about information. The question is do we have enough time to dispense that information properly across the board on a national level for all the population to hear, know, and understand? Because again, we keep saying it, this is the reason why mainstream media has such a big blackout on the Progressive Empowerment Party and what we are dispensing into the public space, because they know exactly what we're saying is
Criminals
true.
that control the country own the media.
Correct. So they're not going to allow us to come on air. So this way we put them out of business with the gravy train passing through the country. The problem is we have to be able to create a mechanism well enough in order to actually be able to reach all the people on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago.
I see some people respond, Tony, and some of the things that they say. I mean, I put out a post called Emancipate This. And I wanted to raise the issue because I want to answer Keith Rowley on his nonsense as to why black Trinbagonians might not be doing well. And somebody would say, I take this seriously if it was anybody else but you. And And in my mind, the image I see is that you're drowning and I pull up with a raft.
Yeah.
And would you prefer to drown? Doctor, I don't want the cure. Let me dead. Is it that we're that stupid?
Propaganda machinery.
But how? Somebody, there must be a solution. Come on, Ram. There, nothing is
It's brainwash.
Nothing is unsolvable. I almost said insolvable by a different term. But nothing is unsolvable. There has to be a secret to unlock. Trinidadians are people. We are human beings. There must be some way to unlock this cage that they've put their minds in.
It's a good question, good statement. Can't figure it out, man. I really can't figure it out.
Trinidadians drive past that land,
The
pushing
quality-
razor grass around the end. They see it.
The quality of life in this country has degraded in the last 30
It's
years.
madness.
And people ain't seeing it.
The average person don't go out. They don't have a social life. They don't want to risk themselves.
We still vote in PNM UNC. Two-party system.
50% of the people last election didn't vote. That means we have a minority government no matter how you spin it. If the PNM got 30% of the national vote, the Diego Martin local government council was voted into office on 12% of the eligible voters. Nowhere else in the world. Nowhere else in the world could 12% of the voters, that's not the population, you know. That's just the eligible voters. So they must be represented and speaking for 8% of the population of the Diego Martins. How could you convene a quorum out of 8%? They should have been sent back to the polls over and over until the people come out and vote or the system collapse. We have to understand that our constitution is set up to damage, enslave, abuse, and advantage the
Exactly.
people. It is not leading them. Our public sector is a conspiracy of epic proportions. Trinidad and Tobago is a successful criminal enterprise.
Exactly.
This, we should put up in the airport when you land. This is organized crime.
Yeah.
It well organized. Nothing works.
It's upsetting to hear you say that.
Nothing works.
It's but because it's a reality.
But nothing
Yes.
works.
It is Trinidad and Tobago's reality.
And the low information voter just wakes up when it hit them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's broken, and again, it's corruption across the board. From the top comes straight down to the bottom. We have a job ahead of us. Again, support from people like yourself, Diane, and other members of the population. You know, again, in my mind, I believe is about getting the information out there and trying to create a proper mechanism enough in infecting the people, because we have to create our own propaganda machinery, or propaganda machinery of truth.
But Ramnahan is not reliant on an income from Trinidad and Tobago. So he will come to Trinidad and come on the show and talk. But the average person that has his ability and his knowledge can't, because they will lose if they're based in Trinidad. So not only do we have to create our own media, build our own studio, we have to find our own professionals outside of Trinidad and Tobago who are not at risk to the madness of the propaganda machine. A member of the Progressive Empowerment Party today is signing a contract in a government office today, and I told her, sign it and bring a copy back for me with their signature, because they want to stop her from having political involvement. And I will make sure that we get that person charged with treason, because the Constitution of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago guarantees you the right of political association.
yeah.
So you cannot tell me that I can't stand up in the middle of the office and say, I support X, regardless of who in government. We need to get to there.
Yeah, agreed. And that is also another arm of
How
the
do you
propaganda
get
machinery.
the 1 point how much ever million of us to wake up to our responsibility in this country? How? There are two questions that I have arrived at. How? Or is it just impossible?
Very important.
Gotta innovate. You gotta innovate.
When they have an Emancipation Day and Indian Arrival Day, it is not that they give a shit. that blacks were emancipated or that Indians arrived in the Fatal Razak. But it is tools to separate the two races. Indian arrival day in Trinidad and Tobago specifically excludes blacks. The way Emancipation Day specifically excludes Indians. And as long as the 1%, the contract mafia that own and operate the PNM and the UNC, could keep those two large voting blocks thinking that the mission is to vote the other one out, we in trouble.
Yeah. Very
You
well
looking at
said.
what's going on in Puerto Rico?
That's one people. And we were talking earlier. If you are a Syrian in Syria, you are Syrian. If you are a Syrian in Trinidad, you're a Trinidadian.
Yeah.
If you are African in Africa, in fact, nobody is an African. You could be a South African or a Nigerian or any of the other countries, an Egyptian that exists in Africa. But you can't even be an African in Africa. How the hell we end up with Africans in Trinidad and Tobago? In India, the the subcontinent of India, there are different races and different complexions. There are white and black Indians. The whole caste system in Hinduism have to do with the color of your skin. But actual being an Indian, you only could be an Indian if you're in India. Calling the Apache and the Sioux and the Comanche Indians and Caribs and Arawaks Indians was a mistake made by Christopher Columbus when he thought he had reached India. Remember, he was sailing west to go around the world to reach India. So then they call us the West Indies after they realized the size of the mistake. But the only time you could be an Indian and the only Americans are Native Americans. The rest of the world, where you born, that is your race. This bullshit about ethnicity on forms need to be removed.
Yeah,
Because
what is the purpose of that?
they don't have enough line for me to write my ethnicity. Regardless of what you see when you see me, I as mixed as it comes. I have about 15 different race. You too.
Yeah.
Red man is not a race. No. You understand? You know what I mean?
that take away his response is not so real.
But you know what I mean? What would you put? But we have to get Trinidadians to understand that if you are Indian Trinidadian, you're a Trinidadian. Remove the hyphenation bullshit.
Yeah.
Chinese Trinidadian, if you're born in Trinidad and you have a Trinidad birth certificate, you're Trinidadian. If you come here from China and you're still Chinese, you're Chinese. How do we get that? How do we get that into the national conversation? Because for all the nonsense about national unity, the UNC and sometimes the PNM is want to talk, they'll never let this be the conversation. Keith Rowley needed to change the national narrative to get himself back some kind of support, but talking about slavery scarred black people, indentureship scarred Indian people, the transatlantic passage hurt everybody. Coming to Trinidad and Tobago, what Jahaji by means, the brotherhood of the boat, Brother Marvin sang. That's what we really are. We are people, the Syrian people who came to Trinidad and Tobago, they weren't people on holiday, you know. They were escaping hunger, poverty, war, crime. They were some of them wanted by law enforcement. Escape. Most of the Syrians that are in Trinidad and Tobago didn't know what Trinidad and Tobago was. They were conned by the people operating the ships. They thought they were in America. They were trying to go to America. Sabgan, Aboud and all of them. When they put them off in Trinidad and Tobago, they thought they was in America.
Is that how we have detour? Sorry.
Good one. But Brandon, you knew that? You knew that? I remember when I was a very young boy, I was going to a party as a young teenager upstairs Chin Fat Bakery, and I take a taxi and the Eastern Maid and they drop me 2 communities down the road. But I realized I know what the hell I used to drop him there. And that's what they did to the Syrian community and a lot of the people that we have here. And we as a people in Trinidad and Tobago, I mean, You're not fixing public health, you're not fixing education, you're not fixing food production, you're not fixing the economy, you're not fixing government, you're not fixing national security, you're not fixing nothing until Trinidadians stop being racist. Until we stop being Afro-Trini and Syrian-Trini and Chinese-Trini. Until we become Trinidadians and Tobagonians. Because then the only issues that will matter are the issues.
Very true.
So coming back to the issue of food production for economic diversification, I just want to acknowledge there are really some good people out there in society that has been working for a very long time trying to support this agenda, okay? And they are reaching their point of retirement. They're getting burnt out. They have been burnt out. And, you know, we younger people are trying to pull the slack, you know. But this is getting to a very dangerous point. And we are discarding the opportunity for creating a lot of internal wealth in this country. And we're throwing away and exporting a lot of jobs in this country because we don't seem to put any good emphasis on agriculture development. So, you know, and agriculture is not a singular parameter. Agriculture is fused also with energy. It's fused with, as I said, banking and finance.
Social development, public health.
Yeah, health.
Everything.
You know, so...
jobs, entrepreneurship, economic development, safe foreign exchange, the win-win-win-win-win of having a properly set up food initiative, a vision. You wanted to say something?
What I would like to say is that the programs put by the government, by the Ministry of Agriculture, it needs to be run properly. You can't have incentive programs for people, and when you have crop loss due to floods and so on, and then they have to wait a year to get their money. That farmer is waiting for that money to start his other
but
crop.
Then why are we still having crop loss to
I
floods?
was just about to say that. Do you see how failures at every
Because
level?
the
Why we don't have
failures?
flood retention ponds?
Infrastructure is beyond the farmer, and this is where government needs to come in, and they're not doing it. They're not doing it in a timely
The water that
fashion.
ends up in your farm flows to your farm. Trinidad has mountains. It comes down the mountains and it flows to your farm. And it gathers speed. And all they need along the way are retention ponds to take that water and hold it before it reaches you.
Yeah.
And then pump that water
And sluice
back.
gates and all of that, and the whole network.
But dams and lakes, we overdue for a nice lake in Central that we could hold 100 million gallons of water and that people use it for recreation too.
When a farmer doesn't get that support from the government that is promised, he gets out of it.
The reason I'm not even going down that road with you is because we need to solve the problem before that problem becomes a problem. We need to solve that problem. We need the ability to protect the farmer. And if the farmer's crops belong to the state, if the state has made a deal with you that they will buy your full crop at X dollars, then the state has a responsibility to protect the crop.
Yes.
Protect the crop, so that all of a sudden now you're going to register farmers and you're going to register market people, so that if I see you selling avocado on the side of the road, show me a registration number and the source of the avocado. Because if you can't tell me where the avocado comes from, I will charge you and I will seize the stock, because that means it is most likely stolen goods.
But Philip,
And that's the fastest way. But I want to show you something, Ramat Ramlin, and I want you to acknowledge that there are solutions, simple solutions.
but
to
who's driving
every problem.
them? Where's the agriculture society?
Trinidadians need to hear, and they need to hear it from you and Diane, who's in the industry, that yes, this could fix easy, that in 5 years we could be food self-sufficient.
Agreed. Because like you said, we can't just talk about the problems. We all know what the problems are.
Just overload of
as it pertains
problems,
to
yeah.
agriculture and food production. You don't have to be a rocket scientist
When
or a
you-
subject matter expert.
But
to
when he
see it.
spoke about hemp, commercial, not even
Yeah.
food, pepper spray. Pepper spray is a massive industry. It is a multi-billion dollar industry. Trinidad and Tobago could break off a chunk of that because our Moruga scorpion pepper, the number one use for it is pepper spray.
But even coming back to the same hemp industry, well, the cannabis industry, hemp in itself is a wide scope of downstream industries that's associated to that.
Very.
And we're not even talking about the active THC CBD cannabis plant, which is used for medicinal use primarily, which also has a host of
No,
different.
but he's saying, even if you want to forget the madness that comes with that,
Yeah.
deal with the value of hempcrete in the construction industry.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's another big thing. That's right.
Mhm.
Hemp to replace plastics,
Yeah.
single serve bottles, hemp, but bamboo.
Bamboo, yeah.
If Trinidadians understood that you could literally watch bamboo grow in this country, you could watch it grow, it grows that fast. Bamboo, and when bamboo starts to grow, to get the roots out the ground, you need a backhoe. Bamboo is something that will grow and grow and grow, and you could harvest bamboo. And bamboo for flooring, bamboo for construction, bamboo for plates and cups.
We ain't there yet, Philip. They ain't thinking there yet. I know what you're
I'm
saying.
saying that if the government says, okay, we're going to set up a bamboo plant that could make these different, because it's just dyes after that, it's just MIC still makes the dyes and the tools required. I don't know if they've changed the remit of metal. MIC, I can't remember what it stands for, but that I know that a lot of the companies used to go there for their tools and their dyes to have them made, and to make floor tiles. Today I talking to Akil Camps. He's the head of the North Hub here. We import so much flooring material in Trinidad and Tobago that we could be making
Billions.
We could be making from sugar cane, from bamboo. We used to throw away the sugar cane after we crush it for the juice. That sugar cane now, that they making utensils.
Tiles, long time.
No, but they're making utensils now to replace the styrotex that is destroying the environment.
Yeah.
So there's downstream, and the government just needs to lead. The government just needs to lead, because people say they look at it only, where's the profit? They isolate it, but they don't realize the downstream savings to all the other all the other ministries, all the other arms of state that don't have to come and clean up after this. Because you could make a sugarcane plate that you could fling on the side of the road like Trinis like to do, and it's good for the environment, not bad.
Once in 2014, right, I was invited by the New York Laventille community to go up in the hills and meet the community leaders there. And I did that. And they had me sit down with all the youths over there who were involved in crime. Obviously, they didn't want to be photographed or whatever. And one of the things they told me was, we can't find jobs. They said because of our zip codes, anywhere we go for jobs, they say, oh, you from Laventille? No, we ain't got no job here. So one of the problems they face is this kind of prejudice stereotype. And they literally said, if you created the jobs, we will leave crime.
But do you think Fitzgerald Hines don't know what you just said? Fitzgerald Hines was a member of Parliament for Laventille East, now he's a member of Parliament for Laventille West, or whichever. But in that order. But I'm asking you, do you think the People's National Movement, whose leader, the Prime Minister, just realized, it just dawned on him, that black Trinbagonians are not doing well? You think he don't know that about Laventille, or Cocorite, or Waterhole, or Harding Place, or Abbey Pujad, or Big Yard, or Scorpion, or Rich Plain, or Covid, or Patna, or Bagatelle? You think he don't know? You think black PNM don't know that black people in Trinidad are suffering because the government that has the power and the ability to change their lives don't? That Keith Rowley could create industry today at the stroke of a pen that will put them to work. Build a marine university in Shagaramas, that land that you just gave to the 1% to build a stupid water park. Build a marine university. Trinidad and Tobago is the only Caribbean territory outside of the hurricane belt. We should be housing tens of thousands of pleasure craft. We should be training our people in the mechanics and the machining and all of the skill sets in the yachting industry and the pleasure craft industry. This should be a hub in the world that people from Spain and Italy, all the 1%ers of the globe, could bring their ships here and their boats here.
But the key point is, gentlemen, the young man said, you create the jobs, you give us the employment, we will gladly,
that's the government's role.
we will gladly leave crime. Because they said it's not easy to go out there midnight to rob people's houses, to break into people's
But of
houses.
course.
Who the hell wants to do that?
No, but we want to pretend and believe that that is their first choice. Trinidadians are nasty when it comes to that. We want to say that about black people. We racist,
Yeah.
We put them there and we hold them there and we label them. And what is sad is that the average black person doesn't understand that there are people who actually are interested in helping rescue them. So that the Progressive Empowerment Party and organizations like this that understands that the well-being of the citizen is a function and purpose of government.
When they took me through Sealats, the lady called me on the side whispering, we need help, we need help. But she said I can't talk too loud because the gang leaders and them ain't want me to ask.
Mother's Day in Trinidad and Tobago a couple years ago, 7 pit bulls escaped the house and killed a mother, a security guard, on her way to work. And you know what happened to the case? I remember it was one of the justifications that was used to bring the Dangerous Dog Act to law. But she's a security guard working a double shift. She just went home to check on her family, back out to work as a security guard for minimum wage. And then after you get the minimum wage salary, they taxing you for the boots and the pants and the shirts and the baton and everything else that they could. The people are deliberately kept enslaved. They cannot break free. They need to understand. They have to take a chance. We have to get Black Trinbago to understand that if they don't snatch this lifeline, because it cannot get, Felicia, it cannot get worse.
It really can't.
No government could be worse than the PNM to Belmont. Speak for Belmont. Speak to what you're doing right now, forcing the hand of Nicole Young and the PNM to do the blasted job that they auditioned for.
Well, I mean, like I said, I experienced it and I see firsthand just how the PNM has destroyed Belmont. And I say destroyed. The one thing Stuart Young has done for Belmont is put an awning over the Pigot's Corner bar. That is his entire legacy.
That's his contribution.
That's his contribution to Belmont in the 4.5 years that he has been in office. While the garbage remains there, the stink, people complain about the rats. And I mean, we segueing off of agriculture here, but away from agriculture, sorry,
No,
but you're seeing just basically in all the different systems and all the different avenues where just this PNM, like you said, the PNM government has just been failing the people. And they're still studying to fill and fatten their own pockets, because all of these things that we're talking about is common sense. Common sense.
In a modern world that understands human resource management, that sees the people as something that they could actually monetize. I'll tell you something, the people, the workforce that is Laventille, Beetham, Sealots, Morval, that workforce, let's guesstimate it at 100,000 people. That workforce, if you move the landfill from the Labas and created a massive duty-free industrial commercial complex where you invite companies from the world to come and set up factories in a nation that has summer 13 months of the year, 25 hours a day, 8 days a week, that there will never be enough bad weather that could stop the work, that you could build escalators and moving footpaths over the roadway to bring workers by the tens of thousands into this park that is set up with restaurants and all the facilities and give them hope and opportunity. You bring companies like Levi and Samsung and LG and Nike and Apple and anybody that you could think of that would be willing to come to Trinidad and say, listen, for the first 10 years, this was dumb plan, so I'm giving it to you rent-free, internet-free, natural gas-free. We will make sure and secure it and light it. You just come and set up labor-intensive business. Pay our people well, train them going forward, because when they retool, if you bring Isuzu or Mitsubishi or even Mercedes-Benz to Trinidad and Tobago and they're going to build a new model car for the world and they're just making dashboards in Trinidad and Tobago for that market, for assembly, because some companies assemble in America, in Brazil, in China, the same brand. But in those countries, you don't want to be shipping your dashboards all the way from America to China or to Brazil, or from Japan to Brazil. You could be making them in Trinidad. Simple contracts, like the indicator assembly. I mean, I'm talking about simple to learn how to assemble jobs, how to manufacture jobs. You hire people, I tell them the iPad, this. There's at least 8 different companies involved in making an iPad, including Corning. Corning is the company that's responsible for the screens on most touchscreen phones and most iPads. When all of the companies that's supposed to supply the housing, the motherboard, the battery, the touchscreen, all of those things come from different companies by the container load, right? Because you're selling 100 million iPads. And it comes by the container load. So you have Apple iPad in Trinidad set up to manufacture the 250,000 that they know that they will need for the Caribbean and the Western world. And Latin America, they might need 2.5 million here. And all of these parts come together, and you have people, their job is, while it coming down the assembly line, one man just taking out the boxes and putting this house. His job is just to take that out of a box and put it on the conveyor belt. Just keep putting it on the conveyor. Now there are companies that do that with robots and things, but because of our cost of our dollar and our minimum wage and the salaries that people pay, you can't compete with Trinidad labor if you were trying to compete with this. And we could train our people the way India trained its people. People used to joke about India being the call center of the world. Remember that 30 years ago, when the internet had now started, and companies like Lotus and Microsoft and all those companies that, and when you wanted to call for tech support, an Indian answering. But the vision was to take them forward, and now Google, Facebook, Yahoo, all of them, they're CEOs. Apple, Indians from India. India has more technology patents in 30 years than any other country on the planet. The size of the middle class generated by the IT boom in India. There are more than 600 million middle class people in India. That is more than there are people in America, Europe, and Canada. If we have a vision for our people, just that, it sucks that labor out and move on, beat them, Lavantel, and Sealots. Going forward, and I tell people all the time, you could be a screen fitter and you getting $16 an hour. And on the notice board, you see a sign that says chip pressers. We training chip pressers for the next level, and the salary is $25 an hour. You making $16 an hour now. You could become a chip presser. You go into night school for 4 weeks to learn how to press chips. And then they appoint you. You go home to tell your wife your salary gone from $16 to $25. You could imagine what you did to that man, that family, and how much we could transform that community if you had hope and opportunity and jobs for Morvan, Beatam, Lavantil, Sealots. All the companies that are set up on the Eastern Main Road should be contributing per square foot back to the development of Lavantil. We could fix that.
Yeah. We need to create the jobs and the industries. And
I know we end up far from where we started. But as you said and what Tony said, it's all tied together. You can't not see.
Yeah, so a lot of the composite panels can be made from hemp also for the automobile industry. We know that they're heading back in that direction.
Weaving for seatbelts, for seats.
I'm glad you raised the whole assembly thing. You know why? Because this problem of unemployment in Trinidad and Tobago and crime escalation started when we started doing stupid things like shutting down the foreign assembly plants. Remember? The parts used to come in boxes, and our local laborers would assemble it and make a moving vehicle that we would sell on the open market. They took away a tremendous amount of jobs when they shut down those plants. You know?
Anyway. Once again, Plain Talk dares to bring to the national community a conversation about what is wrong and how we could get it right. I am hoping that all of you watching the show, if you are moved to believe what you heard, it is possible, start by sharing the video. And then also reach out to us, get in touch with us, come on board. If you're abroad and you see a vision for a better Trinidad and Tobago and what we're talking about, send your donations. Reach out to Felicia Holder or Satish Ramsaran, and they will help you, and they will manage and get you to the point where you could become a constant donor to building this movement that wants to fix Trinidad and Tobago. If you are in Trinidad and Tobago and you like to volunteer and come and get on board and help, just show up any Saturday at noon, 19 Stanmore Avenue. Or you could, that's in Port of Spain. Or if you're in the north, reach out to Akil Camps. If you're in the east, reach out to Anthony Henry. If you're in central, reach out to Errol Singh. If you're in south, reach out to Michelle Davis. We are not yet in Tobago. But if you wanted to assist and help build the change that could be a better Trinidad and Tobago, reach out to all of these different people. Or just show up any Saturday at noon, 19 Stanmore Avenue, meet the team and get involved. Shari Wilson is the party organizer. She could help you get involved at any level. Bringing it to a close, this conversation was predominantly about food production as a means to economic diversification. You can't isolate anything in Trinidad and Tobago without realizing that everything is wrong together. But be that as it may, we have to bring this to a close. Anthony Defoe, closing comments.
Yes, well, again, Trinidad and Tobago, thank you so much for having us. Plain Talk, Friday, 2nd August 2019. Our discussion today, food and food production as a means to economic diversification. I do hope that the information that was dispensed to you today was very informative and you learned something or got some information that you can probably add to what you already have. And again, I extend great thanks to Dennis Ram Dahim. I got that right, yes. As well as Diane McIver. Great pleasure having you both here. Diane, head of PEP Farms, interim head of PEP Farms, and Mr. Ram Dahim, a development consultant within the agriculture sector as well. Also, a little footnote, want to give you guys a little reminder on the PEP's 3rd annual barbecue fundraiser and All Fours Lime, which is happening on Saturday, 24th of August 2019 at 19 Stanmore Avenue, right here at the head office. It's $50, so please do not forget you have your tickets that you can grab. For the north, it's 769-4590, as well as 684-9107. For the east, it's 237-3673. Central, it's 752-3172, as well as 775-1747. And south, it's 357-0302, as well as 759-3138. I know you guys may have to just kind of rewind on your video to get those numbers for sure. But anyway, my name is Anthony Defoe, Deputy Political Leader. Thanking you all very much for having us again, and I will turn it over to Felicia.
Thank you for that, Anthony, for helping me out with finance there. I am not a subject matter expert in agriculture or food production, but I have common sense, and a lot of what we discussed here today are things that I would like to see applied with a government that actually cares and wants to apply some of these things that we spoke about today, which of course is a Progressive Empowerment Party government. I mean, something as simple as just diversifying our economy by investing and paying closer attention to agriculture is so simple yet not being done. So again, hopefully you out there who are listening and watching this video will be educated and will see that the PEP is a party that has all of these things in mind given the chance of office. Things again to promote: our barrel sale, back to school barrel sale next Saturday, which is the 10th of August. We are having our back to school sale at our North Regional office, which is on 10th Street or 10th Avenue, 10th Avenue, Barataria, number 24, 10th Avenue, Barataria. Come out and check that. It's between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. We have, it's like I said, back to school, so your school bags, your notepads, your pens, your pencils, all from the United States and Canada. Really amazing prices. This is how we sustain the party. This is how we build our war chest. So please support us with this event that we have coming up next week. We also have, like Anthony said, the barbecue on August the 24th. PEP Market returns to the Southland on September the 7th at the Creative Arts Center. If you would like to be a vendor, contact me, 769-4590. If you would like to come and shop, we have a wide variety of, vendors coming, food, clothing, artisans, people with honey. Remember the honey people? We have some good stuff at our PEP market. So again, if you'd like to partake as a vendor, call me to register. If you'd like to come down and shop, that's the 7th of September. For those who are abroad and asking how you can assist us, you can donate to us via PayPal. Now PayPal accepts credit card as well, so you don't have to have a PayPal account. Take down this account because this is all you need when you are sending cash to us. The account address is finance@peptt.com. So you log into PayPal or you go on our website, which is peptt.com, and you would see all of the options to donate. Like I said, PayPal is our preferred means. It's how we get the cash easy. It helps keep the lights on, literally. So again, if you can support us and you are based abroad or even here locally and you use PayPal, that would be much appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah,
That was a
so
mouthful.
that's a lot. And Tony mentioned Pep Farms in his closing comments, and I realized that we didn't mention in the show that if you are a farmer and you would like to get involved with Pep Farms, if you are a farmer now and you have no access to land, if you're not yet a farmer and you would like to become one or get into the agriculture sector, reach out to us. Tony, what's your number? Give them your number.
688-4012.
And when Diane is making her closing comments, she may choose to give you hers. My number, of course, is 682-2110. If you have land that you are currently not using and you would like to make it available to the Progressive Empowerment Party for the Pep Farms initiative on loan, on lease, or donation, reach out to me. We're always interested. We're trying to prove the concept. We're trying to put people to work. We're trying to create food for sale and demonstrate how this would work on a national scale. If you are a farmer trying to get involved in farming and you do not have access to land, we already have. Contact us. Diane McIver, interim head of Pep Farms. Closing comments.
Thank you. I was 5 years old when I learned in school the basic needs of food, clothing, and shelter. I would like to see every citizen of Trinidad and Tobago have the opportunity to have food, clothing, and shelter. I'm forever the optimist. I think we can fix TNT. We just need to have the people in position who have the will, the political will and desire to do so. The Progressive Empowerment Party is trying to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. We have lands available. The new initiative is Pep Farms. Well, Philip asked farmers to come forward. I'm asking the university trained people and the people who have technical knowledge, the retirees from the Ministry of Agriculture who have expertise, come forward. Those who are no longer in the public sector, you have no fear of losing your jobs, come forward. The Progressive Empowerment Party is asking anyone with expertise to come forward. My peers from university who have all the expertise, come forward. Thank you.
And well, Ramdahin Dennis, who joined us today to start a conversation that we have been trying to have for a long time, and I think that it is a very fertile and profitable beginning that we could go forward from. You have closing comments to us?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity for having me. You see, I had opened up the conversation by saying one of the reasons I left Trinidad exactly 30 years ago was there was no jobs available for youths. And that was about the time Trinidad started to go down a slippery slope. In 30 years, this country has gone from a place that still had a nice quality of life to, I don't know, total chaos. And the way of politics has probably even gotten more worse or dangerous. And every day these politicians, they go to work in the best attire, okay, and they give themselves a performance measure that they are performing. They are moving this country in the right direction, but we're not seeing the results. And as you said, the low information voter is not getting it and still voting these people back into power. So, it's about time we wake up and smell the coffee and, start thinking about how we can take back our country, how we can fix our country, and get rid of these non-performing two-party government system that has brought us this far. So a lot of people will not be happy I came on this show, but I'm seeing no alternative. I'm not seeing anybody else putting out a lot of energy out there, talking out and trying to put some sense into the average voter. But whatever it takes, however I can help rebuild this country, I'm willing, and I'm inviting. We have 650,000 Trinidadians living outside Trinidad. A lot of them are professionals. A lot of them have money. A lot of them can give. I'm inviting them to do something to make this country great again. because a lot of them wish they could come back and retire here, and this is no longer an option. Coming back here is no longer an option because the quality of life here is really, really, really diminished. Thank you again for having me. Pleasure.
Yeah, well, Ramden, I want to say to you that the people who would not be happy that you're on this show, a lot of them have their own agendas and their own reasons behind it. And you're not going to go down that path. But as you said, there are very few organizations in this country that daring to push the buttons that we're pushing. The Progressive Empowerment Party has actually changed the national conversation. And I know 2 weeks after we did a show on the plight of Black Trinidad and Tobago, the Prime Minister dawned on himself that Black Trinidad and Tobago not doing well. It shows the power you have to change the conversation, the power of social media, the power as consumer, labor and voter. And we need to get to a point where the average citizen not only recognizes their responsibility but takes it seriously. The day we could break the stranglehold on the population of race voting that has us in this mire, this quicksand, the day we could get past it and get all of our voters voting for people who have a clear idea of how things should work and have demonstrated a commitment to doing it. If we get to there, I think we're going to be able to fix Trinidad and Tobago. Our next show, we plan to be dealing with issues again that could benefit Trinidad and Tobago. Everybody want to form a panel and talk about crime. Crime is a symptom of a failed nation. If we end the failing of the nation, crime itself will go away. We want to touch on tourism as a means to economic diversification. We will be joined by a tour company operator and 2 cruise ship professionals, cruise industry professionals that will be coming to explain the benefits, the advantages, and how easily we could put millions of feet on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago and transform the economy with very little change required, very little investment. Thank you to all who joined us today on the show, to all who shared the show, all who reacted to the show and got involved. Thank you in advance for those of you who saw the pleas for help financially and sent us. Thanks to the guests who were here today. Chairman of the Progressive Empowerment Party, Felicia Holder, Deputy Political Leader, Anthony Defoe, Interim Head of Pep Farms, Dan McIver, and Ram Dahin Dennis, who's going to be a regular guest, regardless of who don't like him. I was just turning it around back on you. Regardless of who don't like the fact that he was here. But I want to tell you something, if you are a professional, and Danny did a good job there. If you are a professional in anything, especially if you're retired from the public service and you think that you have a contribution to make to help us change the conversation, reach out to me or Satish Ramsaran and even Anthony Defoe to get on Plain Talks so that we can bring your input into the conversation. So until next time, stay safe, Trinidad and Tobago.